Preparing your home for the market can be one of the most daunting tasks for sellers as they are looking at getting their property on the market, and getting the property prepped can be one of the most daunting tasks if you are a seller and you're making a move in the near future. What is important, what needs to get done, what would be nice, and what stuff is just not that important for you to really focus on. My name is Jamin Goecker. I'm a realtor in South Central Alaska, and my mission is to help you to build an intentional and significant legacy for yourself and your family by coaching you in real estate. And today, we're going to be going through the checklist of what you need to be doing as you are getting your property ready for the market. These are the things that I really coach my sellers to focus on to get their property ready and to make maximum impact. There is an infinite number of things that you can do, but let's face it, just about everyone has family, kids, other responsibilities, jobs, lives outside of getting your property ready to go, and you need to really be specific on what it is that you want to do. So we'll be focusing on that today. Before we get started, give this video a like, subscribe if you haven't done so already, and let's go ahead and jump into it. First off, looking at the interior. Now, the first thing that we're going to look at is what's going on in the interior. For the interior, we want you to remove excessive wall hangings, we want you to remove knickknacks, and we want you to remove any unnecessary furniture. You want to make the room feel as big as possible by doing this, and you want to try to depersonalize it as much as possible. Additionally, you want to make sure that you have new light bulbs, or if they're not new, then at least make sure all the light bulbs that are burnt out are all replaced so it gets as much light in there as possible. And make sure that you clean off all the light fixtures and you clean off the walls, preferably that you paint as well. That is great when you can do that. I understand if you have a lot of stuff going on, might not be applicable or it might not be practical. It definitely is the best case scenario when you can, though. Additionally, you want to make sure that you clean the baseboards for the property. So you don't want to be walking by the baseboards. For those of you who don't know, it's going to be along the wall, on the floor, and it's going to have a little casing over the top of it, but you've got these brass pipes in there, and the water goes through there, warms up, and that's how you actually heat the entire room. But that little casing over the top does collect dust, so you want to go through there and just brush all that dust off of there, make sure that it shows really well. Additionally, if you do have carpet, let's make sure we get those professionally cleaned. It can either, well, I say professionally, either go get a steamer and take care of it that way, or you can go ahead and just hire a professional to go in there and take care of that. Make sure that you wash windows as best you can. If it's during the winter time, you're probably not going to be doing a whole lot of exterior window cleaning, but definitely make sure you get as much of the windows clean as you can, just weather permitting. Let's take a break real quick. If you've been watching this channel for any amount of time, you do know that I focus primarily on the South Central Alaska area. And while that's going to remain the case moving forward, we are actually going to be partnering with our colleagues across the entire state to bring you market updates for what's going on inside the markets of each one of the big market centers here in the state of Alaska, looking at Fairbanks, Kenai, Homer, Kodiak, and Juneau / the Southeast area. So this is going to be a very exciting project called the Trailblazer Project. I've not seen this done in any other state before, where we are bringing you all the market updates for the entire state under the roof of one channel. So this is going to be a lot of fun. So when you guys are seeing market updates coming from people who aren't just me on the channel, you know what's going on there. If you guys are really nice, then we might actually be able to convince some of these folks to actually provide some more content and talk specifically about what it's like living in their market. So when you see these videos pop up, make sure to jump over there, give them plenty of likes, plenty of love, give them lots of comments. And just know that that's fulfilling kind of the mission we still have on the YouTube channel to help you build an intentional and significant legacy for yourself and your family by coaching you in real estate, whether that be in South Central Alaska or anywhere else in Alaska that we have our colleagues in at the moment. So just want to make you aware of that, and let's go and finish today's video. Additionally, make sure that you really spend some time focusing on the olfactory senses with the house. In other words, you want to make sure that you are being very intentional about what aroma the house has as you are getting it prepped to go onto the market. Every house has its own aroma, and you want to make sure that you're intentional about what aroma people are going to have as they're walking in there, because if it is a very strong aroma that's very unique to your house, it's going to be very difficult for the buyer to walk in and have a sense that they can actually visualize themselves living there, because they definitely feel like they're all up in your space if the house has such a unique aroma to it. I recommend getting some kind of vanilla candles or something like that. Just something that's a little bit more neutral. Candles are great. If you need to, go get one of those Scentsy wall plug-in things, and that works just as well. There's a lot more we can talk about when it comes to the interior of the home, and it's really going to depend on the specific property, but those do give you a pretty good list that you can get started with to really get the property in its tip-top shape. Now, before we go any further, just wanted to take a break real quick. For those of you who've been watching for a bit, you do know that I host the Alaskan Journey podcast. For those of you who have lived in Alaska for a while or recently moved up here, do feel free to go check it out. And also, if you are, would like to talk about your story and share that story with those who listen to the podcast and who are thinking about moving to Alaska, feel free to reach out to me at the link down below in the description to my website or my Facebook page. And I'd be more than happy to talk with you about sharing your story and helping those who are considering doing the same thing that you did yourself. Now, let's go and talk about the best things you can do about preparing the exterior of the house. This should be pretty obvious, but you want to make sure if you have a yard and there's grass out there that the grass is neat, it's cut, it's freshly cut, and it's not, just completely unruly. If it is during the wintertime, you really want to make sure that that driveway is clear. You don't have a ton of snow that they have to tromp through just to get to the house, because that's not making a great impression if your guests that are coming over to view the property are having to step through like 3 feet of snow just to get to the front door. Make it easy for them. Throw down some salt, throw down some gravel. Especially if you have a steep driveway, you really don't want to make people concerned that they're not going to be able to get up into their driveways, by your just not taking care of the driveway. So save yourself a lot of headache and make sure that you're really on top of that if it's the wintertime. Additionally, remove all yard clutter. If you have a lot of tools just laying around, if you have toys like snow machines or 4x4s, like all this stuff, you really want to make sure you get that stuff, if not completely out of the yard and into a shed or somewhere, you at least want to make sure it's all consolidated into one area. If you have dogs that are, out there constantly, make sure you clean up after them. Because again, that's not going to make a great impression on these folks that they're walking around and they're just hit with this stench of just, dog feces all over the place. And if they step in one of them, that might be game over just right there. So make sure that you really do pay attention to the exterior and keep in mind you're not trying to impress people, but also you are, okay? This is you competing with all the other sellers, and you want to make sure that you're putting your best foot forward. So go to the nth degree to really impress them as best as you can. Additionally, if you have any kind of flower bed, planting some kind of flowers out in the front can certainly help a little bit to give it kind of a nice vibe, and really make sure as well that you have all the leaves cleaned out of the gutters, and that stuff like that is taken care of on the exterior. If you have the ability to wash the exterior or paint the exterior, great, but that's also a little on the spendier side. Once we start talking about painting the exterior, great if you can do it, and it's not the end of the world if you can't. Now, while we're talking about paint, if you have the ability to take some paint and just freshen up that front door area, just make sure that like the door jambs and everything has some fresh paint on it. The door itself has some new color on there as well. That is going to go a long way to just making that front area pop, because paint that's been on there for like decades is really not going to look awesome just because it's going to be weather worn at that point. But put some fresh paint on it and it is going to look a million times better. Additionally, get out the screwdriver, make sure all the bolts, the doorknobs and everything are, tightened down and nothing's, loose, or you're hearing like a rattling as you're opening or shutting the doors. And that's going to go a long way as well. You know what? I'm going to give you some additional content here as you are preparing to show the house. These are just kind of some basic guidelines. There certainly are more. These are the ones that float to the surface. Have some kind of a light ambient music playing. And make sure you have all the lights on. Make sure the curtains are open so you get as much light as you can. If you have pets, you need to deodorize. Even with all that candle stuff, try to deodorize. And make sure that, again, are really paying attention to the olfactory senses. And make sure countertops are clear. Make sure that you have as much of the stuff put away as you possibly can. And just make sure that the property is ready as though you are having everyone over for Thanksgiving. So I sure hope this has been useful. This is kind of just scratching the surface. So feel free to reach out to me if you do have any further questions about what it looks like getting your property ready for the market. I'd be more than happy to help with that as best I can. Feel free to reach out to me in the description section down below. The links there to my website, my Facebook page, and we'll see you on the next video.